here, and I'm hosting Rule Zero. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you doing, brother?
Pretty good. I just had to throw a homeless guy out of my neighborhood who was chasing one of my neighbors, but I was able to use my practical self-defense techniques this morning. They worked awesome. I helped save a neighbor from a homeless guy.
That's great, man. Superhero, you know, his work's never done.
Yeah, man. It was nuts. And yeah, I'm getting so sick of California and this nonsense. But let's get to a much more awful subject, gold digging. And I wanted to do this because
gold digging is what made California, John, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Let's say, yeah, full circle. We made full circle.
And guess what? 49ers are still gold digging today. It's fours that think they're nines.
Yes, 49ers. I heard that. That's a funny phrase. Oh, but the thing here is that people haven't known or didn't hear about it. Isreal Adesanya is the current UFC middleweight champion. And he won his belt back, which he lost to a guy, but he had this belt for a while. Like, he built himself up. He was the champ. Everybody's talking about how great he is for a while, and finally got his belt back. And then news came out recently that his ex-girlfriend of like 2 or 3 years is now suing him for spousal support. She believes that she's entitled to half of all of the millions that he made because she was there for him while he was climbing the ranks in that 2 or 3 years. Even though he probably put in 20 some years of work to get to that point, she feels she's entitled to 50%. And this sounds like a joke to most people, but we've covered at least one case on this show where the judges are favorable to these women in these situations.
Yeah.
Right. The one that we talked about was the case in, what was it, Ontario? Is the lady and the guy were together for 14 years, never married, had no kids together. When they broke up, she sued for spousal support and won $50,000 a month for 10 years. Now, I think Ryan had talked about how he read into the case more because the article was kind of misleading, but it was the guy lied or something in court. Do you remember that, Ryan?
Ryan's frozen.
Yeah. I was like, why is he making that face? But do you guys remember when we talked about that?
Which guy was that?
It was an Ontario case.
Ah, okay.
Let me see. I'll find it right here. Here we go. My computer's going slow today. Yeah, a little bit.
So maybe it's not Ryan's internet. It's the all internet in general.
Internet.
I think
all
so
the
too.
Infrastructure is falling apart.
Or it could just be Restream.
Yeah, we need more linemen. We'll get that fixed.
Here, let me share.
While John's doing that, Thor, I got my new shirt
right here. Unmarried Ontario couple. Right, man, I had no children and no house, but man, must still pays child support, right? Or not child, but just support. But that's the two people, right? And yeah, they had a relationship for 14 years, had no assets owned together, had no children together, and when they broke up, she sued for spousal support and won. And now she's entitled to $50,000 a year for 10 years. She didn't get the lifetime one. She didn't put in enough time for the lifetime, but she, is there for getting that for 10 years.
You know the funny one about that one? Sorry, I was like really spotted it for a bit. Am I better?
Yeah, I'm getting a little echo. You guys getting an echo?
A little bit.
Is that, hey, Troy, can you mute yourself? I wonder if it's Troy because he doesn't have earbuds.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about that one is the guy did it to himself. Like the court.
Oh, you're really quiet, Ryan. I can't hear you.
Level up.
Oh, here. The court didn't have to do that. It was an unforced error. Like, yes, they kind of lay favor to her there, but the problems he made is that he presented her as his wife. He bought her a ring. He called it a wedding ring. He basically, for all intents and purposes, told everybody in his social and business circles that it was his wife. So then when he went to the courts, he said, "Oh, I don't actually present." He basically lied to the courts, and that's why he got screwed. So there's kind of like, it's a bit of nuance to this one where you have to realize as a guy, there's decisions you can make to make it less likely for the courts to go in your favor, and then don't lie to the judge.
Yeah.
Jesus. So yeah, that one, it's a bad example. The UFC one though, I'm like, that's brutal on that one there.
So so that was, kind of understandable. The guy lied to the judge, and the judges just don't like that stuff, so they're kind of punished him.
Yeah.
But there's other situations that were also not good.
The
what was
buddy
the
whose
other
mom,
one?
whose mom gave the money. That's my favorite one. Is that the one you're getting into?
Oh, well, first there's this one. This is a Buddhist monk, right? This Buddhist monk right here. This guy, he met some girl, some follower, right? Met her. She says that she was sexually assaulted by him the first time they met and became pregnant. Okay. But they exchanged emails and phone numbers, and they had a texting relationship over a number of years. They only had met 4 times. They were only ever in the same room together 4 times. But she was suing for child support, right? And she was going to probably win child support, but then she also said that she wanted to add spousal support to that suit because they had a marriage-like relationship, marriage-like, air quote. And because they had text messages and they were flirty and they had hug emojis and stuff like that in their communications, it's not the judge, it's the guy who decides whether or not it goes to the judge to be heard, allowed it because he said, yeah, reading through their texts, reading through their communications, it sounded like they had a marriage-like relationship that, even though they were never in the same room together, it was just a digital relationship, right?
Well, so you can be on the hook now just for digital, just for text messaging.
That's what
what
it sounds like.
that's
I would
amazing.
imagine though
Alimony.
it depends on the exact type of communication, like what Ryan was saying, that one guy was portraying himself as, husband, as this girl's husband. She was his wife. If your text messages are sort of alluding to that as well, I mean, I think just regular hearts and stuff doesn't necessarily do that, but I wonder if there's more to it. You know what I mean?
Well, let me read
this
some
a
of what
Canadian
this guy
or-
said.
Or a British law? Is this when you call someone your wife that qualifies you for
It's common
some
law
kind of
marriage.
spousal support?
Well, this is the thing, is this marriage-like term keeps coming up a lot, right? So marriage-like behavior, even though you're not married, if you have behaviors that are marriage-like, that looks like they're trying to get you, right? So this guy who made this thing, Master Bruce Elwood, he's a Supreme Court official, right? He was looking at the application, and he said, Ms. Hahn's claim is novel. It may be weak. Almost all of the traditional factors are missing. However, the traditional factors are not mandatory checklist that confines the elastic concept of marriage-like relationship. And if the COVID pandemic has taught us nothing else, it is that real relationships can form, blossom, and end in virtual worlds.
Oh, brother.
Wow.
Oh, brother,
Holy
yes.
sweet Jesus.
The meta universe has arrived.
Yeah.
Extract resources.
Where was this, John? Is this in the UK?
This is the United States. This is United States. First. The first one was Canada. This is United States.
Okay.
Israel Adesanya's case is in New Zealand. So this is not just like a pinpoint location where things like this are happening. This is all over.
Yeah, New Zealand's been
worldwide
that
trend,
way for
yeah.
a while, right? I mean, if you live together and it's more than 3 years, it's essentially common law there. Is it like that in Canada as well?
It used to be 6 months. The military used to need a waiver because you could deploy and then come back to a wife who's leaving you.
Mhm.
So they had to get a waiver for a year. Now I believe it's 2 years.
Yeah. And
But
so,
yeah, because they were finding people weren't getting married.
Mhm.
Government's not getting its tax revenue from
Right.
weddings. And so what they did is they just legislated, like, whatever. From a legal standpoint, you're considered married. That's
Yeah,
why everybody
I
thinks
actually
marriage is
covered that, and I have an article on that too. But it's the 2010 Quebec court, right? They decided,
no cohabitation.
yeah, cohabitations, common law spouses can sue for alimony. That happened in 2010, right? And that was a Brazilian the big key point was some Brazilian-born girlfriend of a Quebec multimillionaire scored a major legal victory that could affect 1.2 million people in the province who, like her, shared a home without marrying. And in the article, they go on to talk about how less and less people are getting married. It's like one in Quebec, it was like 1 in 3 people who lived together were actually married. So basically, they're casting one. All these people made the decision that, hey, you know, we want to live together, have our lives together, but we don't want to get married. So the government said, we're waving a magic wand.
Yeah, can't have
And
that.
all of you are fucking married anyways.
Well, so when the courts take this stance, I want to pose a question. If they do that, does that not prove that men are of high value? And that
They're literally forcing
proving men
into
being of
marriage
high
relations.
value and women of never attaining a high value without a man.
I mean, it's a take.
Well, I mean, the courts are backing it up. What can you say, Ryan?
Hey, you got to get those
You've got a
votes,
legal
right? Girls
definition
love when
of
you
high
vote that
value
stuff in.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's scary. I honestly, I like it because, I mean, I don't like it. I'm obviously part of it myself, but you know, the MGTOWs were like, just don't get married, bro, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You can't keep running from it. It's at the point now where there's like legislation in place that's essentially weaponizing you wanting to live with a girl. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I like girls. They shower every day. They smell nice. I got one that's pretty special. I want to spend my life with her, you know? But like, no matter how you try and skirt the system, it seems like it's a cat and mouse game between the feminists trying to screw you over and you just wanting to have a pleasant girl around for the long term. I don't blame you, Troy, for doing what you do. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to write books and be single. Fuck it.
Well, I mean, never say never, but yeah, I mean, that is certainly a consideration. I'm not sure what the exact common laws are in the UK, but I mean, I would imagine you're on dicey ground if you've lived with someone for a number of years, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So this is part of that article
Like,
with the llama, right?
Ah.
And they're saying, what exactly is a marriage-like relationship? So the situation may be the first to involve an internationally renowned spiritual leader, but it's not the first time the court has been asked to weigh in on the ever-changing nature of what constitutes a marriage-like relationship. Elwood refers to a list of 22 factors grouped into 7 categories as part of a 1980 case that attempted to come up with an answer. The categories include shelter, sexual behavior, services inside the marriage, social and societal activities, economic support, and children.
Interesting. Now, guys, could this be, I mean, divorce in the Western world is, you guys have seen the documentary Divorce Incorporated. It generates hundreds of billions of dollars in the Western world. Could this be, since, marriage is on the decline, a protection scheme for the system that is in place to continue the court system, the Divorce Incorporated system? Now they have to modify it because marriage rates are actually down.
It could be that, but there's only I just did a stream yesterday on what to expect during divorce, and so I had to look this up yesterday. But there's only 8 states in the United States that still recognize common law marriage.
Correct.
So I don't know if, I mean, you would think that if it was a big grand cabal, like all 50 states or at least a majority of them would do that, not just 8. And then on top of that, there's only a handful of states that recognize community property as well. So
Chesty actually had a legal thing on that. There was a history about it in the States. It's because too many people were gaming the system, basically marrying their best friend.
Right.
It was like a business partnership. So yeah, gay marriage went skyrocketed. And that's the whole reason, because they didn't want the gays to get married and cost tax revenue. So that's why they don't recognize it, apparently.
The gay.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
it sucks. We can't marry Thor.
So we
and then save all
see
the
a little bit
taxes.
of a trend here where they're like pushing the marriage like stuff, right? Quebec 13 years ago, they're forcing everybody, if you cohabitate long enough, you're married. This people, they've met 4 times. They did have a kid together, but they only met 4 times, only in the same room together 4 times. But because of their communications, the guy specifically says because of their communications, and they talked about stuff that you wouldn't talk about with anybody but your wife, like your kids, your future, home, that type of stuff. You wouldn't talk.
Didn't you say that woman claimed that she'd been sexually abused?
Yes,
as
they
well,
had
though?
never had consensual sex.
So,
Also.
Sexually abuse-like behavior then.
Wait,
that's-
wait,
that's-
wait.
The texts
How long
were
were they
raunchy.
together?
but that's weird. So at the beginning,
I'm telling you, the woman
at the
says
beginning,
she
she's
was
claiming that-
sexually assaulted, became pregnant from the first sexual assault. And after the sexual assault, they continued a relationship via text message and email. And he had sent her money. He did send her a lot of money. That was the other thing. That was the other big thing, is he sent her hundreds of thousands of dollars of money to help with
Come
the
on,
child.
guys. Maybe she didn't tell him that it was sexual assault.
it seems a bit like she wants to have it both ways. So first she's saying it's sexual assault, and then she's saying, "Oh, but actually, but
It's
so it was
sexual
sexual
assault,
assault."
the
But then they
baby's
continued
his, and he
having
has to pay child
this
support.
online
But we
relationship.
also had a marriage-like relationship, so I should get spousal support. That's what she's saying.
So
Dude.
that's
Which
crazy.
seems to contradict, doesn't it? Because if she was sexually assaulted, why would she then be in a
For
spousal
4
relationship
years.
with this
Yeah.
dude, right? I
That's
mean,
like art of the deal with Trump.
Yeah.
Just aim for everything and then negotiate it down to something reasonable.
Yeah.
My ancestors have the total solution here for a problem exactly like that. I mean, if you're
Tony?
going to have a child and you are going to split, automatic primary custody goes to the man. And if the woman truly loves the child, statistically, that is a benefit for the child. So give the child primary custody to the man. And that reminds me, I have to correct Destiny because he's such a fast talker on these debates. He threw out the statistical quote that men who seek custody get it 50% of the time. That's true. But there's 4 types of custody. There is primary custodial, there's sole custody, there is joint primary, and then there is essentially what's called shared physical custody. So when a man does seek it, he's awarded what's called the woman 90% of the time gets primary physical custody. That's true what he said, but when you look at it that way, women that seek sole custody receive primary custody 90% of the
And in
time.
fairness, Thor, do you really trust Destiny's opinion when it comes to custody of things?
Well, I mean, he's very good at speaking fast and throwing the cherry pick out there. And I think all our buds missed it, but that's entirely not the case. But he's very good at just picking out the word custody, but that is
Don't
not.
get me
how
wrong.
it rolls.
I was just making like a cheap joke about him passing his wife around for clout, but they
Well,
forget
Oh, man, that was-
lawyers suggest
whatever-
to guys like,
whatever
you're not going
works,
to get
right?
custody in here. Don't try. So it's like they don't even try for custody.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's again, it's skewed. It
Sometimes
doesn't
it's
really matter. He's bringing up. That's all he does is bring up hypotheticals, talk fast, make so many points that you think he's smarter than he is. But that's just the fentanyl talking.
that's some of that stuff is
Fentanyl's not
just
a
like
stimulant, though, right?
some of that stuff is just semantics too, like so I have 50-50 with parenting with my kids.
And you pursued that, right?
Yeah, but
Oh, you're goddamn right I did. And
Of
it actually
course.
50-50, but do you have custodial? Are you the one who gets to make the end decisions?
yeah, so that's what I was going to say is
Mhm.
what they ended up doing, because she has them like an extra night a year or something like that. Technically, she's the primary custodial parent, and I'm the non-custodial parent, even though I have half the time and I pay for all their shit.
Oh,
Which,
50
which,
to
which,
20%.
which is a big
Decision-making.
like bull crap. It's because they're saying, oh, you have just as much of a factor in their lives. But no, we don't, because like if I actually, because I'm in the same situation, Paul. If I was custodial parent, I would move out of the state. I would move somewhere safer. I just had to wrestle with a homeless guy less than an hour ago.
Well, see,
Don't
that's
turn my
that's one of the
You know,
good
like,
things
I would
though
did
about
you-
50-50.
I don't get to do that. If my ex decided that she wants to leave now, she could.
See,
She
my
would have
ex
to go
can't do
through a
that.
legal process to do so, but she has a window to do that. She has a window of opportunity
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah,
I
my
don't.
my ex doesn't. She can't do that. She tried a year after the divorce was finalized. She took me back to mediation. She wanted to take primary custody of the kids and move to Denver. And my lawyer told me, he's like, hey, you fighting for 50-50 up front was the best thing you could do to protect yourself against that.
Yep.
Because now the courts will look at the situation and go, this isn't good on the kids. This isn't in the kids' best interest. And so she can move, but she'll have to relinquish custody in order to move.
Yep. Most
And,
men
all
are
of a
All of a
broken in
sudden,
a
she liked it where
divorce.
she was.
Yep.
She decided she didn't want to move that bad, and she quit. But yeah, it was a battle.
Broads, am I right?
You are right, Ryan. You are in fact right.
So, Paul, in my solution, you would have got the actual legal custody on that.
I would have
Oh.
if she pursued it. Yeah.
You would actually have that decision-making capability, which, you know, looking at the overall picture, that's better for the child, and we can prove it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked about it on the stream yesterday too. My lawyer was playing chess the whole time. So she wanted primary custody from the get-go. And what he ended up doing, because when we went to the hearing, because you go to an initial hearing when you they file for divorce, she didn't have an attorney, and I immediately lawyered up, and he steamrolled her. And he basically was like, look, you know, during this separation process, why don't we just do 50-50 for now, you know, until we work things out, get things finalized. And she agreed to that. Which set a precedent. So when we actually went to mediation, we were like, we're already doing 50-50. It's working. So she basically was like, okay, I guess we'll continue doing that. And that was the best thing that I could have ever done. Yeah.
All right. So you can see that there's a push towards forcing people into marriage for some reason. Just because your text messages, just because you're living with somebody. And that's wild to me, the Quebec thing. It's because like you're living with somebody, you both agree you don't want to be married, but they're just going to force you into a marriage relationship.
And
they pass it off as like, oh, this is great. You get the same benefits that all these married people do. It's like, I don't want the benefits. I want you to leave me alone. It's like,
do you think that women like know this now because they know that guys aren't, you know, they're less likely to put a ring on it now. So women are like, yeah, okay, but let's just move in together. And then that's how they lure you in.
That's how to trap you.
That's how they trap you with their vaginas.
And now, and I'm not saying now don't move in with it. I live with my girlfriend. These are awesome. Don't take this the wrong way.
Oh my God!
You got to be a little bit careful. You got to be a little careful out there. You got to vet much harder than before. And we're seeing these crazy laws and things being passed, right? And the future looking forward, I think, is really scary because I looked up some statistics, and we're like at a third of all lawyers and a third of all judges currently are female, but that number is slowly trickling up. So it won't be long, another 10 or 15 years maybe, the legal system will be majoritively run by women. They will be the ones who will make the decisions on who's getting the children, who's getting the money, how.
In many ways, it already is. If you look at the social side and the admin side, it already is. Yes,
like all the admin, all that stuff is primarily female as it is. I'm talking about the actual lawyers and judges, right? So the judges, I looked. What is this? Is the 2000? I just looked for 10 years ago, 2013.
Where was that?
Status
Josh, you might have seen this too. Did you see that?
Right, U.S. representation of the United States courts, women judges.
Yeah, there you go.
The final appellate jurisdiction court, 125 women, is 35%. Intermediate appellate jurisdictions, 33%. State general jurisdictions are about 27%. State limited and special jurisdiction, 32%. And then you go to, I gotta switch this up. 2023, and it's not a huge increase, but it is moving, right? 36, 39, 33, 36. So you're getting more and more female representation in the judge's seat, the one making the decisions. So I don't know if Izzy is going to get out of this unscathed. I really don't. What are you guys' opinions? You guys know anything about New Zealand court systems?
Oh, New Zealand.
I pulled it up, and it's been there for a while. It's pretty harsh. I would not cohabitate there. It looks to me just on the surface, you know.
I mean,
us alpha, you know, sigma, red pillish sort of guys should start building the little in-laws houses on our properties with separate addresses, and that's where, you know, our girls go. And that would be some kind of protection. But no, in New Zealand, it looks like it's been there for quite a while. And this has been kind of not talked about. It looks like it was done some 20 years ago.
As if not everything in that corner of the world wasn't already trying to kill you. Now they added the women as well.
And prostitution is legal there, by the way. So why would you
Oh.
ever cohabitate? I mean, what is the return on investment in that case? Cappy, where are you, man?
Yeah, where's
Well,
I
Cat?
just
wish
remember
I
the New
wish he
Zealand
was
thing.
here today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you remember the
all
tax implications where they found out lifetime tax revenue versus services taken out? Women are like a net drain on the economy by having jobs.
Yeah, that's across the Western world. Yes.
Yeah, that original study came out of New Zealand, and I'm trying to find it. I got source amnesia for it. There was this thing that was showing during acrimonious divorce cases that women were less sympathetic to other women than men are. So I'm thinking, as a silver lining, if this is true, that it might actually be a good thing that more women are going into the judiciary. So
I've
for
heard that
girls
in some
act
cases,
like
yeah.
the chick who's like, yeah, the Dalai Lama raped me, but I like his kid. That might be the kind of thing that guys are more sympathetic towards women on our little protective instinct, but women might be a little less sympathetic on. So it could be a good thing.
Actually,
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing when
No.
it comes to getting if you want to lawyer up, get a female attorney because they will fucking trash these women in court.
Well, look
You
at
know?
look at Johnny Depp.
Here you go,
Well, they
Scotty.
have an
Yeah.
open door.
Oh,
They have an
yeah.
open door to do so without ramification in the public eye.
Yeah, Johnny Depp in the Amber Heard case, he had that very proficient female lawyer, didn't
Yeah.
he? Who was really, really impressive, and she just demolished Amber Heard.
Mhm.
Which wasn't
And the
that hard
opposing-
to do in all
opposing
honesty,
attorneys,
but
too.
still.
Yeah. When you shit on a man's bed, it's hard to look
No, but,
good
like,
after that.
He
You know?
beat me. He beat me. Miss Heard, you've never seen Johnny without his rings, correct? Yes. And he beat you with them. And you had one bruise. Again, these are the rings. Never seen him with them. Beat you. That's the scar. Are you sure about that? It's like, I don't know, man.
Yep.
Well,
And also, everyone's like, if a girl shit on my bed, I'd beat her too, right? Like that's, that's
Well,
how everyone would act.
I'll keep you posted. Amber is in Europe. I can do this. Be with me in spirit. I can do this. I'll
I'm not sure
reel
why
her
would you
in.
want to do it
Don't
though,
bring the
Jack.
nice
Really, I
sheets. That's
get
all I ask, Jack.
I get that she's an attractive woman, but is this really a serious aspiration? The good thing is though, now she's in
I
Europe.
could make it. Don't tempt me. Do not tempt
Jack
me.
can
Now
save her.
she's in Europe. There's some clubs in Berlin where crapping on people's beds is like sort of like in demand. I think.
People pay for that.
I was going to run a
Absolutely.
poll. Which one of you guys?
Well, I
is
guess
gonna
I
get your
know
bed
our
shit
first
on
meeting
first
place.
now?
Bergheim it is.
Which European gets the shitter? Vote in the chat.
Mhm. You know, this is quite anecdotal, but you know, about 10 years ago, we knew a couple that got divorced, and the woman wasn't the one initiated, which is rare, but she didn't want to seek an attorney at first. Then she got an attorney, and it was working kind of amicably, and they wanted to do mediation, but the attorney she hired basically was encouraging her to do the domestic violence thing as leverage, literally. And
Yeah,
she
that's
spoke
scary that
to
that's a
everybody
legal
about that.
tactic now. The
Mhm.
claim domestic violence, because the effort that the guy's putting into fighting it is effort he's not putting into something useful.
And it's a tricky thing in U.S. courts because we have family courts, which are courts of equity. It is not innocent until proven guilty. If you're accused of violence, and I'll say it again here, if you're accused of any kind of DV, you have the right, have them move it into criminal court. You need to, you have to.
Wait, really?
Absolutely.
So you go from a summary to a criminal trial. That's kind of
You,
interesting.
you have to, because then evidence, then you get innocent until proven guilty. If you're in the court of equity, you're kind of screwed. It's believe all women, literally. And that's a tricky place to be.
I wouldn't like it. Like, I understand, OJ. I understand, sir.
Ooh,
Well,
Peggy.
Oh, Mrs. I'm going to get her to shit on my bed.
I never said that. I never said that. I
Oh,
said I
that's not
could
what you
change
wanted?
her.
I thought, dude, that'd be
I
a
could
mark.
change her.
First man in the
Yes.
manosphere to get Amber Heard to shit on his bed. I'm like, you'll be Tate level in like 6 months after that.
That is true, but I mean,
So this is
I-
another question we should probably help. We want to do actionable advice here, all right? So what
Amber
are
Heard is very
steps
actionable,
that
sir.
that young men can take to protect their assets moving forward into the future, right? So we have one genius example of what you can do, and that's this Hakimi, the soccer player. You guys heard about
Yeah.
the Hakimi, the soccer
Yeah.
player?
Yeah.
right? His wife
Legend.
filed for divorce, looking to take half his stuff, not realizing he had placed all of his assets into his mother's name. Like he was broke on paper. Legally, he was penniless. All of the houses, all the cars, everything, his paychecks went to his mother, and then she paid for things and gave them to him as her son. And after she filed for divorce, the other chick was making like $40,000 a year or something like that. She's gonna have to pay him.
You know what? That's the same idea as putting your assets in a legal trust, because
Yes.
a legal
Can
trust.
you guys
is
still
a
go into
separate
that and explain that in detail?
Sure, particularly in
Because I know it helps. This is help with you in the bankruptcy and the the car accident stuff, right?
if you really want to get protected, do it like trust fund kids, where it is a non-revocable trust that you actually have to hire a third party to issue benefits to you. That actually will isolate you from claimants against you, including liability claimants here in the U.S. And that includes, her seeking any properties that you had in that trust and have placed in that trust, because your trustee has to do that for you. Now you can get your benefits. You just have to request through the hired trustee. That's pretty good. If you can't do that,
What are those steps to do that?
Work a little bit hidden in an LLC.
Well, yeah. 'cause
So,
they're not
Thor,
your assets
what are
anymore.
the steps to do that? Like, who do I call to start protecting my assets?
That would be an attorney that specializes in asset protection, because it really doesn't matter whether it's a divorce or whether it is creditors, or you have to isolate yourself through legal means, either through so that your income and your assets are not owned by you. This is how pretty much corporations, wealthy people. I mean, how President Trump would not release his tax returns.
Yeah.
It's not public information anyway, but essentially he does not have any income, because everything he does, all his vehicles, anything, is either leased, rented, or owned through an LLC that's held in trust. And therefore he is a beneficiary. So he just says, oh, I need a vehicle here. Great. The trust provides that to him as the beneficiary, but that's not income. Not at all. Hey, I need to pay for these things. The trustee pays for it in his name. He does not have income. It all rolls in, and he pays corporate tax, which, by the way, is less than income tax by far.
Yeah, but I
So
mean that's such
that's
a
how
vile
wealthy
trick
people do this.
always, where it's like, show
So
us your tax
everybody, if
returns, while
you're-
they damn well know how they do it, and it's all legal what Trump.
Yeah, because
does.
almost all of them
100%
did
legal.
the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
No, he said that straight up.
sides
He
do it,
said
they're
it
not
straight up
gonna get away
in a
from it.
debate. Hillary Clinton was talking whatever smack about him. He's like, of course I do. So do you.
Yep.
So do all your friends.
All of them do. And they incorporate, if they're using it through the two system, in a state that cannot disclose principals. It's why Delaware is one of the best places to incorporate an S or an LC. This is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I just know that I've had to protect assets, and they cannot disclose legally principals. So if somebody is looking and you have 1, 2, 3 corporation, never use your name, they can't do it. And that's where all the banks, if you look at all the banks, at least in here in the West and the US, they're all incorporated where? In Delaware. So they're not going to disclose principals if you do something. You got to spend the money. You get what you pay for. So if you plan it out, you can protect a large portion of your assets prior to engaging in a legal marriage. And I wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend a ceremonial marriage that you also do in a state that's more favorable to cohabitation. Make sure you do it there, but write your own vows. Things like that can be actually more important than doing a state legal marriage. But if you protect yourself up front, it's just, you go into this relationship, it's not your choice. It's already in here. I'm like a trust fund kid, you can't touch the trust. It's
Now,
just
that's
like
expensive
inheritance.
I
too. So for
saw
guys earning 30 grand
I saw
a
Fresh
year,
and
it's
Fit
not
had done
really
a
viable.
show where they got a lawyer on, and
True, Ryan, true.
I saw Fresh and Fit had done a show where they got a lawyer on, and apparently this thing about the mother, giving it to your mother, apparently that's not fail safe.
Right.
Apparently there's some legal ways around that. So do you reckon what you're talking about, the trust fund kind of, the LLC kind of route, is maybe safer? Obviously not legal advice. People are going to have to take their own legal advice on this stuff. But I think the mother thing might be a bit flawed if guys are thinking of doing that. So it needs to look at it.
I
The
know.
trust thing
I
too
think
is
I know the most.
It's not just
the
about
most,
relationship stuff. It's about if you get in a car accident. If you're making good money, you get in a car accident, your whole life could be over.
Correct.
I think I know
all
the
the
most
bills.
bulletproof solution for this, but you have to be pretty wealthy.
Bitcoin.
No.
Pokemon cards.
No, the most bulletproof solution. It's an offshore
Hookers and
trust.
blow.
No.
Take
Offshore trust.
take coin.
I had an attorney on my podcast once. His name is Blake Harris. He's an asset protection attorney, but he specializes in hiding your asset. Well, not hiding, but protecting your assets in is it the Cayman Islands or the Cook's Islands?
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him about it, and what the difference is between that is if a judge, let's say you do have just a regular trust in the U.S., a judge could actually request to know like how much that trust is worth, and then order the trustee in the United States to relinquish a certain amount of funds to pay somebody. And then because it's in the United States, they have to comply with that order. The thing with the Cook's Islands is they're legally not allowed to comply with U.S. court orders.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Because if you disclose, that's what I was talking about with disclosure of principles.
Yeah.
You have these assets, you have these, but they're inside of this bubble, shall we say, a trust bubble, a trust incorporation. And so you don't have to disclose. So she doesn't know, and the attorneys don't know that you have anything because on all available evidence, it doesn't show.
Yeah.
What do they ask for?
So that might work pretty well as also. But what Blake was telling me though is like if the court ordered his client to relinquish certain funds, what they would do is to comply with that order, they would send the request to the Cook's Islands Trust and say, hey, this court is requesting this. And they would just disregard it because they're not legally, the Cook's Islands won't legally allow them to comply with court orders from the US. And so they go, well, we did our part. We requested it. They just won't release it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
You don't get shit, lady. Sorry.
That's smart. It's actually smart. And I think that, after I had consulted with these attorneys after, Missy's accident, there was a large liability looming over a large amount of assets. It was a hole in my game. So had to look at it for sure. And your option you just said is a really smart one. And yes, it costs some money, but you could kind of set this up and you could do it. Anybody making say 50 a year could do it. They could make it a part of their budget and absolutely do it.
Well, I would say that your option is probably more affordable for the regular guy because Blake told me that to get the offshore trust, you have to have assets over $1 million for that to even be worth your while. Otherwise,
that's high value man only. That's
and
the high value man
there, right?
Yeah, you have to be a top G for that.
Yeah, and you have to store them there. That's part of it too. They give you that pension benefit, or
let's go $1 million Bitcoin. Let's go.
Yeah, sometimes it's not even about making these perfect legal decisions. You can make strategic decisions and your own life to go without this. Like one example, people don't like hearing: make less money. And I know it's like, what do you mean? Just be lazy?
No.
It's like, no. Well, no, yeah, exactly. But picture these guys. They're like, I want you to be the stay-at-home mom, and they work their ass off to make a huge fortune for their family, and then they lose half of it. I don't know, Steven Crowder, for example. On the other hand, if he decides maybe I don't need to make $200,000 a year or $1 million a year, and they take half the year off and they only work half the year, they earn a lot less in their business. They spend more time around their kids. Another reason that works well in a case of separation is, and military guys know this, the courts will not give a military guy custody because he's able to be deployed at any time.
Yeah.
And so for those, like if you make decisions that show you want to be a more involved father in your kids' lives, the courts take that to show that he wants to be more involved in their lives. A lot of this stuff is really just about signaling to the court what you want. If your main sales pitch about being a good dad is your paycheck, the courts are like, sounds good, man. Carry on.
Yeah. No, you actually make a really good point, Ryan, because I think a lot of guys too, during this process, they really get up in their emotions about it and they don't think clearly. They start getting adversarial. You really have to be strategic with this stuff. Keep a cool head, work with your attorney, and you can actually come out of this. I mean, you're not going to come out of it unscathed, right? There's going to be some pain, but you can come out at the end in a better situation than you would have if you just lost your shit and just started being a dipshit in court,
Dude, so many guys I've seen with their divorces talk about that, how all they really had to do is just wait for the wife to lose her shit and then just capitalize, like give her enough rope to hang herself with.
Yep.
And for all those acrimonious ones, the girl will eventually go crazy against all their legal advice.
That's yeah.
Yeah, every guy that I know that got completely fucking raked over the coals is because they lost their cool. They go over to her house and threaten her and like then she would just call the cops. you know, be like, I'm fearing for my life, and he would end up in jail, and then he would argue with the judge, and this is bullshit, judge, and then
Yep.
get held in contempt. It's like,
Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's like you gotta learn to just shut your mouth.
Yep.
Unforced
You just
error.
gotta shut your
Yes.
mouth.
I
Doesn't
seen guys
matter
do
what
that.
awful, horrible shit comes out of theirs. You can't have a reaction at all.
Mm-mm. That's good advice. And then occasionally I've seen the guys that are so stunned by the divorce, they just want her back and they agree to everything. It's just, that's not healthy either.
Oh, dude. Yeah, the rollover types.
Oh,
Sorry.
shit. Yeah,
I
we
tell you
got
a
a
story
lot of
about
them
this
that we
in-
talked to.
In the military, this is how 90% of people get charged, man. We literally make people feel awkward. Like, you know, you make them stand outside your office at attention for like 20 minutes because you're disappointed with them. They wait for you to yell at them, then you don't yell. I call it military theater. And every single one of those guys will confess to their summary trial where there's no evidence because they just want the discomfort to go away. They literally say that, I just want this all to be over with. And they will literally admit, guys got kicked out of the military, go to Club Ed. It is crazy how uncomfortable guys are with like moderate discomfort.
Yep.
To the point that they'd rather screw themselves over. It's insane.
That's true. We get a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It actually kind of made me feel bad because like I've done it as a supervisor for a lot of military guys, and it's just crazy. It's so consistent that you can basically base policy around it.
Good
And
Lord.
I hate to think
Yeah.
that so many guys are fucked right now, not because the system's against men, but just because we're acting like women.
Well,
Act
so
like
you
a
mean
bitch,
it's
get
so,
treated like
it's
a
so
bitch.
reliable that you can use awkwardness as like a weaponized tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I got
Uncomfort.
briefed on
Well, I
how
mean,
to
that's-
handle a subordinate crying in my office. Like that's how common this shit is.
It is.
No.
Dang.
I mean that works in wrestling and fighting. You just make somebody really uncomfortable in certain positions, and they'll give you what you want.
Oh,
That's
really?
even in strategies of war.
I can put you in a
That's
position up against the
overrated.
fence that makes you so uncomfortable. You will happily give me your neck so I can choke you and you can
Just
get out of that
imagine-
uncomfortableness.
So
Just
the ones where you
imagine
put, like, your nuts
teabagging,
in the
the word
guy's face, and he
teabagging.
has to move his neck to get out of the way, and then give him the old subway hug.
Little subway hug. Oh, we're gonna rename the naked choke to the
Oh,
subway hug.
geez.
I'm like, get to his back, throw my hooks in, and apply the subway hug. I almost had to do the subway hug this morning.
Yeah, I was hearing what happened with that. The homeless guy just started attacking your kid. You had to go
Package
at it?
thief was recognized by one of my neighbors when he's walking his dog, and he confronted the guy and asked him what was in his backpack, and the guy snapped and started yelling at him, and then chased him into the neighborhood. And he instinctively walked towards my place and started calling me.
Well,
John
if you
needs
got a
some help. There's a
neighbor
homeless
who's
guy
a
chasing me.
UFC
There's a homeless guy
champion,
chasing me.
John's a good neighbor.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
great
I'm
neighbor.
tired of it, dude. I've broken up 2 crimes in the past 2 weeks, week and a half in my neighborhood. People are stealing packages. I go on patrol. Like I'm a sentry. I walk my dog multiple times a day to walk the neighborhood and chase homeless people out of here. Like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I'm friendly doing it. I'm like, hey, how you doing? You looking for something? I see you're like looking around and going down a bunch of streets. You need something? They put their heads down and they fucking scuttle off like cockroaches.
California.
Terrified. Hey,
I
man,
carry
how's it
I
going? You
carry
just
pepper
punch a
spray with
tree
me
for no
everywhere I
reason?
go now.
Speaking of, man, California and the homeless population, we're going off on a tangent here, but that's kind of fun. Whenever I go back to California and I go jogging, I used to run this one trail that went out to a dog beach in San Diego. Beautiful trail. Now you go through, they have a fenced off tent city that the city allows under the bridges, and it is creepy under there, man. People are down there shooting up needles and stuff. It's like just an absolute shithole. And they had a hepatitis outbreak that went from San Diego all the way up to LA at one point. I don't know if that got out got fixed, but yeah, it's just because they just all their policies, they allow all this, you know, because shitting in the streets is a human right or whatever. It's crazy.
Like they don't even put blue lights under the bridge.
Pooping in the street.
No.
Yeah, I
That's
just can't
crazy.
wait to get out there, you know, in the parkway out
Well, like,
front, you know, have a
Toronto's
cup of
leaning that
coffee
way,
and
but
get
at
on
least we have
Twitter
the
and take
sense
a
to
dump.
put the blue lights under the bridge, which makes it harder to find veins, or like be
Yeah.
homeless under the bridge, just no heroin needles.
No, they actually give out heroin needles in San
Yeah.
Francisco.
No, yeah, our tax money pays for it.
Sounds like
Yeah,
that's-
apparently-
Vancouver just passed that too.
Well, now, come on,
Apparently
guys.
San
It's
Francisco-
safer than
apparently
taking the fentanyl, all right?
Yeah.
Apparently, San Francisco is just off the hook in terms of the fucking drug abuse and everything down there.
It's awful.
And Troy's like, I had to pay cover charge for this, and they're getting it for free. This is bullshit.
Well, Berlin as well, actually. But Berlin's pretty bad. I mean, there's people on the subway just like shooting up and like smoking crack and stuff like this. But when I posted that on Twitter, somebody said, "Oh, you've obviously never been to San Francisco." My friend who's been there recently, he said it was just nuts when he was there.
Huh?
It's crazy.
It's insane.
See,
I was
guy
there in
makes,
79 and it was nuts
6
then.
figures a year.
You couldn't get on the BART then, 1979.
All right, so putting your assets, putting your money, putting everything in your mother's name, that's an option, but it may be not foolproof. And then a trust. Those are solid ways to keep yourself safe. And that's not even the trust. I don't think that's just safe against women. That's safe against anybody who's going to try to collect money from you.
Yeah.
Right?
Another way too that we haven't discussed, and he's not here today, is the Clary method, the Aaron Clary method.
Which
is
Perkins.
yeah, he charges his girl rent,
Yep.
you know, so that way he has a paper trail saying, hey, we weren't married. She
That's valid.
she was paying me rent, and
Yep.
and he's got, you know, invoices and shit.
Yep, that is valid even here in California.
Yeah, that's actually pretty smart.
Mm-hmm.
He's so miserly. It's just
You
funny.
think trading work for
Hey, you
residency
come in here,
would-
you goddamn
would keep
socialist,
you-
give me your
would be
rent.
safe in any way?
Trading what for residency? Did you say?
Trading work, like yeah, you have a business and your girl does work for you, and in
Yeah.
pay you allow her, you basically are paying her room and board to do work for you.
So you put her on a W-2, right, or 1099? It's what you're paying her. You're giving her allowance. I don't know. I haven't explored
Well,
that.
it's not a regular. It's not an allowance though. It's just like, okay, you don't have to pay rent as long as you do all of these jobs.
Oh, I was
Maybe
just
the
thinking in my
sooner
mind,
did
you
it.
have to create a paper trail to show value exchange. I'm just wondering.
That would be
And
a
this
good
is why
question to
that's
have
complicated.
have a guest attorney on to ask if that's even an option, or if there's any kind of case law that sets a precedent with that, because that would be fascinating to know.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
The
it's
big issue is
pretty
getting a
giddy,
girl to
right?
opt into that, because isn't that the big complaint girls have for all of this MGTOW save your marriage stuff?
Yeah.
It's always assuming that no girl would put up with that.
Yeah.
That's really the issue too. Are you attractive enough to even get away with it? Can you Justin Waller that,
Yes.
where you're like, no, my relationships are open just for me. I don't care about your school marm tactics. Or what did he call her? Oh yeah, you're annoying me, or you're annoying, but I'm not annoyed or something.
Yeah.
You guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Where he just looked like downtrodden,
He's
like
not- yeah,
tired
he's
of
not-
shit.
Like, I'm not triggered. I'm just annoyed. You're annoying.
That's the one.
And
That's
it is.
the
It's
one.
like if I was surrounded by that clip reminded me. If I was in a room full of people who have never fought, never trained before, and they're telling me how you should fight.
Subway hold.
No. That's not how fighting works. I've never had a fight. I've never trained to fight, but this is how it works. And in that I would be making the same face that Waller was making in that situation. Oh my God. Like,
Yeah, dude, he's too
you
he's
people
too
are
attractive
just
to be in
dumb.
this space. He doesn't.
Yeah.
deserve
Who
to
doesn't
be
like
treated
Waller?
with women.
Jeez.
it's like, it's not a triggering. It's a like frustration of like, I'm talking to a cement brick here who's telling me about fantasy land.
Yep.
Like, I live in reality world. I don't care about your fantasy land. Like, you can hope and dream and woo woo all you want to, play your fountains and have your beaded door shit. Like, get out of here.
But I mean,
I live in
that's
the real
where
world.
all that don't take women seriously stems from, because this is what you get when you let them talk. Sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and however the song goes. I mean, pat them on the head and let them go. It's like, I think you should. I know, dear. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will apply your advice tomorrow.
Is
Some
another
32-year-old
solution?
woman,
Is
no
another
kids,
solution
no
to
husband,
this though?
talking
Just,
about trad life? Like, fuck off.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
is another solution to this though just not getting seriously involved? Because I suppose what we're saying is you'd have to not live with anybody in order to potentially be off the hook. Because if you move
Well,
in
what we
with
saw
somebody-
from that case with the
Yeah.
llama, they didn't even live together.
well, yeah, that
Right?
is difficult.
So
isn't
it sounds like if there's marriage-like behaviors,
Right.
So
That's
yeah.
your
crazy.
communications are marriage-like. If you're sending heart emojis, if you're talking about the future, hey,
Well-
maybe someday we can have a house
This is-
together. If
God
you're
damn
talking
it,
about
yeah.
those things,
chick
that's
is
marriage-like.
roping me
You
in.
have
I just
conversations with the
realized
woman that you
Oh,
wouldn't have
fuck.
with your friend. That's marriage-like.
Yeah.
She comes over. Look, nurse chick comes over. She cooks me dinners. She makes me sandwiches and stuff. She makes me a coffee in the morning.
Man,
She's
you're down for
fucking
50%,
roping me in.
man. You're
We
down
don't
for
even
your-
live.
she
We,
hides your
we
trust
have
paperwork.
separate houses, but she knows what the fuck she's doing.
Paul, you're on the
That's
hook,
the
man.
old
You're
way.
on the hook
Yeah.
50% if that shit goes down.
Well, Troy, and you got a good point. That's the crux of it. At the end of this, guys like women, like specific women that are treating them well. And how do you navigate that? As much as the MGTOW, like, oh, just be a hermit. Fuck them broads. Like, well, it's not so easy when you find a girl that's great. Like, are you seriously going to sit there and treat Nurse Chick like a sociopath because some guy online says, like, dude, divorce sucks? No.
No,
So
no,
what's left? Like, you
I'm
have
not
to
terribly
navigate
worried
this.
about it. So Colorado is a common law state, but that you know, she doesn't actually live with me. She has her own house, so I think I'm relatively protected there. We are not a community property state. You know, we're an equitable distribution state. So like we don't own anything together. We don't have any assets together. So I'm relatively safe. I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good getting those sandwiches. You know.
Well, that's the point. That's why I like your advice over like MGTOW 42069, because he's always like, just fuck those bitches, don't play. And you're like, well, I am fucking that bitch, and so here's how I play.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
better, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I only mean that because I don't know her name. That's the only reason I'm calling her.
We keep her Nurse Chick to keep her somewhat anonymous. You know,
That's smart.
there's a lot of fucking creeps in this space.
There he is.
Yeah, I mean, another problem is without putting some paranoia into the mix here, it's likely that these things are only going to get worse as time goes on. So if we're now seeing these, these rulings coming in saying, oh, you know, you've been texting her for 2 years, so that's marriage-like behavior, that's only probably going to accelerate as time goes on, right? So I think it's something that everyone's got to be conscious of and just think carefully about, right?
Yeah, especially with all these businesses are going to go out of business because nobody's getting married anymore.
Yeah,
They're going to force it on you. We can't, like, the divorce industry is going to go bankrupt because nobody's getting married anymore.
Yeah, there's still going to be chumps with that.
If you go on more than 3 dates with somebody, now you're married. So that's like the divorce, industry can still make money.
Yeah, you were kind of married. You were sending your dick pics on Snapchat. Look.
Yeah.
Only married
behavior you
people
wouldn't do with
that.
your friends.
I mean, you're not joking.
Shit.
You're not
Nurse
wrong.
Chick
There's
sends
actually
me
this
titty
chick
pics all the
that
time.
Mish and a bunch of the T-Rex guys like play around with. They call her Kate too. She just put a dude on blast. I guess like half the hate she gets are guys sneaking into her DMs on Twitter. She shoots them down, and then they start blackpilling her and sending her like videos of women getting beat for like the next 6 months. Like there's a nonstop list of thirsty guys who will do whatever it takes. So
Who's that? Kate.
oh, this girl, her name's Kaylin.
Kaylin.
That's the one. Yeah.
Oh, she's not even remotely as cool as Kate is.
She's
Kate's
like,
cool?
Kate's
I
annoying, but
find.
she's still kind of cool, you know.
I'm not here to argue about which Kate's the better Kate. I'm just arguing how it's funny that she posts the receipts of how thirsty guys are, and I find that stuff hilarious.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, these guys, they're the ones that'll follow Matt Walsh's advice because they want to believe, like a lot of this angry guys at women, it's not because they hate women, it's because they're angry that she doesn't love them back, you know?
Yeah.
And those guys are the ones that make those decisions, like you were saying. They're the ones that yell at the judge for being a fucking idiot. They're the ones that go over to the wife's house and threaten her because they just love her too much. They're the stupid guys that need this the most and the ones least likely to follow it. So I kind of keep that in mind. Like along with the shit posting, I have some pity for these guys because John could fix you, man. John's really smart. Troy's, all these guys are really smart. They could help you if you just get out of your own stupid way, but they won't. So what can you do? I don't know. Oh, I'm not going to monologue too much. Don't worry. It's more sad about how pathetic guys are. And I kind of like feminists have a point, man. It's like some of us really are shit.
And honestly, the biggest thing that anybody can do, there are all these little side things you do to kind of protect yourself. But the biggest thing is have some goddamn frame and know how to say no to women who are bad actors. Like if you learn red pill praxeology, you're going to be way better at choosing a woman who's not going to put you in a position where you have to worry about this much.
God,
That is true.
Am I right here? Am I wrong?
100% right.
Like a Thor, like you're married. Like, do you have any fear that you might lose half your shit? Paul, like you've been with Nurse Chick for a little while. Do you have any fear with her, like possibly pulling a 180 and be like, screw you, I want your shit?
I don't have fear of that. I mean, she could turn on me one day. That's always, they go feral.
They do.
And you never know what you really never know a chick until like you go through a breakup with her or go through a divorce.
That's true.
but you know, I've learned so much of sort of preventative techniques to try to mitigate that as much as possible.
Yeah.
And just have a healthy relationship. You know, that I think that's the big thing. Most guys just they get a chick and they just stop trying, you know. And
Well, that is the big thing, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, even being married more than 30 years, of course, you're going to have a bump. But, you know, essentially, once I realized what the bump was and where the cause was, it was easy to fix, you know. They're so responsive when you kind of dialing your own shit in, you know. Of course, they're adults. They make their own choices. They go feral at any moment. It can happen. But you're so much better prepared for all of that stuff, you know.
Plus, it's much easier to deal. Like if it's something that's out of your control, you can't change it. That's one thing.
That's easy.
But when it's your own stupidity that gets you into these problems, those are the ones that hurt.
Yes,
That's
and
the
your
common-
ego,
that's
your
usually
ego,
what it
you
is.
get past it a lot of times. Your ego
Yeah.
just says no, 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 and yeah.
No, I'm an alpha male.
Or that's no
Big
big
bump.
deal. That's not a red flag. That's a light pink or something.
That's a
But
lot
yeah.
of it. I'd be surprised, dude. If the only thing we had to worry about was stuff that we couldn't fix, like truly insurmountable problems, I think we'd be far better off than where we are now, as like a species or saving the West or whatever metric you want to use.
Yeah, the West will
Yeah, well, external problems, it would be easier for us to come together to fight against the external problem.
Yeah,
But the biggest problems are internal problems. People need to fix themselves.
yeah, exactly. Guys are emotional. Guys are stupid. Women can be predatory, and you make it easy when you make them hate you. All this stuff, and you can stop all of it, like you said.
Everybody's
just don't be a bitch. Have a friend.
everybody's hormone levels are jacked up too.
Oh,
Maybe that's
that
it.
includes women too, guys. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big deal. I mean, that's something that's not often talked about. You know, they talk about women hitting the wall and losing fertility. That is absolutely true. But guys, you know, sperm counts have fallen 45% in 50 years across the Western
Yeah.
world. So
Yeah.
there's issues out there for sure. And they're not sure, but hey, if hormone levels are crashing, it's crashing in everybody. And it
Well,
affects
sure.
your mentality.
So Troy, did you have to head out?
Yeah, I'm afraid I've got to head out because I'm going out in a bit. But thanks for having me on, John. It's been a great show. And yeah, people can just find me if you find my channel at Real Troy Francis. Follow me there for video content about dating and so on. And I'll see you guys again very soon.
All right,
Thank you, Troy.
see you, Troy.
Looking forward to reading the book, sir.
See you later, guys. Yeah, my new book's out on the 1st of June as well. So come to my channel.
Oh,
There'll be
that's
some informal-
fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, see you
I
later,
gotta
guys.
read all your
You are.
old books.
Yeah.
They're on my list. They're on my list.
Oh yes, thank you. I'm next on your list.
I finally, Ryan, I fucking finally finished the Married Man's sex life primer.
Oh,
Is
It only took me 5 fucking months to sit down and read all that.
Is that Athol K?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good book. There's some eyebrow questioning, you know, eyebrow raising things like, really, you put this in here? Like, you know, I guess he likes to be pegged or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, well, everything has a little bit
Different
of like
strokes for
why.
different folks, you know.
Hey,
yeah,
we got a
Red
question.
pill is quite an umbrella. Let's just ask Jeff Murphy.
We got a question for you here, Thor, from the chat. Danny Hernandez says, can women get on TRT since their natural testosterone levels are too low too?
Absolutely, guys. I
Isn't
mean,
that what menopause drugs are?
we're under assault, but you got to realize, you know, research is just now coming out on different things about how these hormones affect you emotionally, mentally. And if it's fallen 50% in men in the last 50 years, do you think it has not fallen in women? It actually has. And in some regards, testosterone has more value in a woman's ability to think clearly. At least it's leaning in that direction than it does in men in some cases. It is a very valuable compound that human bodies must have.
Yeah, you think like the testosterone is the chemical or the hormone in our body that the more of it you have, the more rational you are about things.
Yeah,
I've seen studies that show that the higher your testosterone levels are, the less likely you are to cry about
Yeah,
stuff.
it mutes your empathic
So
response.
you have women who are already more emotional than men and less rational. Their testosterone levels drop. Now they're even less rational and even more emotional.
And their sex
Yes.
drive is lower,
Well, you
which
end
is
up
the
there's
real
a
important
whole-
thing.
There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot. I mean, I got a chart when I do my lectures on steroidogenic pathways. There's a whole lot that goes to that. And, just being very general, yes, that's the case. But we also get in a lot of trouble when we talk about hormones in this space because we say testosterone men, and estrogen women. There isn't really such a thing as estrogen in and of itself being a hormone. It is a catchword for 3 different hormones: estradiol, estrione, and estriol. And they have different functions, and they actually have valuable functions in the male body in certain concentrations. So it's a much more complex topic that we're just now starting to understand. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to get too deep into it, but yeah, absolutely. As a woman ages, she should probably very, very much look at hormone replacement. Let's just make the assumption that women have
Isn't that a pretty
testosterone.
normal thing already, though? Because like they go through menopause, and a lot of women go on
Mhm.
hormone therapy afterwards.
Yeah.
It's life-saving for many. Literally.
I wonder if that the cause of like all the Karens is just they need their like whatever TRT would be for girls. I don't know. PRP.
It is
Pussy
hormone
replacement
replacement. Yeah. And I'm going to be very brief. I'm not medical or anything, but with the knowledge I have, it would be a very small, minute amount of testosterone. Also, she would be looking at estradiol and progesterone. And these all have very different functions. I've heard guys come out, well, women, when they go through menopause, lose their estrogen. Not necessarily true. They can have increases in it. It's a whole rather complex element, but there's several of them they have to look at. It's not hard to correct. We're wiping a cream on your forearm, and after 6 weeks, their entire emotional and thinking process can feel so much better. They can even get off of SSRIs. I've witnessed it many, many times.
Dude, that would be nice. Chicks off of SSRIs would do more for their sex drives, I think, than testosterone.
And they start trimming down. Oh, lo and behold, it changes their metabolism when they have normal levels of hormones.
So you basically
you
solve
mean
the
when you
sexist
sedate people
epidemic
with
of men,
natural
the
drugs, they
obesity
get fat?
epidemic,
Huh?
and all of this just to get women off of SSRIs.
Well, go
I'm
look
just
for
saying,
yourself.
you saved the
Don't
West.
take my
sir.
word.
Save the West.
Yeah, don't take my word. Go and look for yourself. But there's larger ramifications for doing that. These regenerative medicine clinics and doctors are kind of under fire because by doing that, ultimately you have less diabetes, you have less mortality in other areas because when you lose your hormones, I mean, these are keys that fit into receptors in your cells and cause certain functions to take place, on a biologic level that you must have to survive and thrive. And when you don't have it, you age and you get the diseases of aging.
It's just, I'm just amazed how like our health industry, the stuff to make everybody feel better, is actually probably doing more harm than anything. I really do pounce on SSRI specifically, but you are right. It's more than that.
Mhm.
I just got scared the first time I saw everybody was talking about putting 20-year-olds on TRT. And I didn't know until I started researching it that you go on TRT after, what is it, like 6 weeks, your body just shuts down production.
Yep. There is suppression.
There's suppression. And for some guys, once you hit a certain age, it doesn't come back. Like, that's
Correct.
it. You're now on TRT for life.
Correct.
I was
There-
worried about that myself, and then I had a conversation with Rich
Mhm.
Cooper about it.
Oh.
And I was like, "Well, aren't you worried about that?
No.
You can't. You get off this stuff." He goes, "Why would you want to get off this stuff?"
Well, yeah. I mean, I could go into that conversation. Well, there's a lot of reasons. It's kind of and here's the thing. The reality is if you are put yourself into the upper quartile of what is considered physiologically normal average, you can always recover that suppression. But guess where it will recover to? Especially if you're diagnosed with hypogonadism, primary, secondary, it's going to go right back to where it was after 12 weeks. It's going to go right back to that low section that you had and tested throughout the testing process. It's just not one test. If you have competent medical help, they're going to look over time because there can be causes for low testosterone that is just they can determine quickly and easily, and hence you fix your problem. And that's the route, especially if you're under 40, you should always go and look first.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. The permanent lifetime injections, I get it. Why would you ever want to go off? But Like think before you get a tattoo. Some decisions are permanent, and you don't want to just be flippant about them.
Yeah, and
Kind of the big
TRT
point.
is not expensive if you do it correctly. It's very not expensive. And oh, by the way, they say, oh, would you inject yourself with these synthetic tests? Gentlemen, the actual testosterone that's in the injections or the creams is exactly molecularly the same that you.
It's funny how TRT is always such a big issue, but birth control just gets thrown over the counter.
Oh, the fake pregnancy one? Yeah. Yeah, we can make you pretend you're pregnant all the time. Wow, sounds great.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Like that's totally normal to mess with your hormones through birth control.
Heck, technically melatonin, which is over the counter, is a hormone. So it's like we seem to be okay with it. It's just, is there scare tactics involved? Which
So is vitamin
testosterone, always
D3.
scare tactics.
Vitamin D3 is a steroidogenic hormone, just so you guys know.
Is that the sunlight one or is that the other
Yeah,
one?
it's a sunlight
Which one do I have?
one.
Well, not the sunlight
Jack Napier
one.
on roids confirmed. Vitamin D.
Same with DHEA, over the counter supplementation. So these things
no sugar.
are complex transmitters of critical information that travel at the speed of blood in your body. And if you don't think they don't affect you at the instinctual, hormonal, and the epigenetic level, then you're fooling yourselves.
Yep.
And you're setting yourself
It's like
up.
saying, hey, you can cut my arm off, but I could still go through life and do everything normal.
But that'd be natural if you lost it in an accident, by the way. You naturally lost it in an accident, your arm. Why would you get a prosthetic? That's not natural.
Quick way to lose 10 pounds.
Quick way. Yeah, that's the quickest way to lose. Quickest way to
lose weight, lose a limb.
Make a post about that. See if they lose their mind.
Oh wow. Good point.
Quickest way to cut your body weight by a third. Cut off your legs.
Ryan, fuck off. This is my tweet.
What happened? Oh, no, I was just thinking the reason I don't like these conversations, like I love when you guys are having it. I hate them generally because you get people that are essentially making hot takes. They don't do any research. They just see what are the last 5 content creators talked about. They repeat the same 5 talking points, which they don't know if they're right or not. And then they scare you. It's always like the testosterone decline is a way of making you think you guys are really pussies. You don't know this, but like my private community can fix your testosterone.
Mm-hmm. No.
And so they always, I don't like that. If you have to sell it on fear, maybe it's something that you don't need to sell. And that's the scary part. Everything, divorce, fear things. Oh, she's going to take half your stuff and rape your children.
Yeah.
Testosterone. Dude, you guys are going to end up being like a eunuch with your balls cut off. It's like, fuck, there's real conversations. I shouldn't have to terrorize you to have them. And it drives me nuts. And I'm so glad Rule Zero.
You should
do, Ryan, because
every marketing book I ever read always talks about doing it.
Yep.
It's really frustrating because I don't want to scare people into that, but like
the emotional hook.
Yeah.
Anybody that's making,
so like I'm always told by people like, no, you got to scare the shit out of people into thinking they have to learn self-defense because they're gonna die. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
And anybody that's actually doing what you said, Ryan, as far as I got the solution, I'm going to fix it for you. They're making a living on it. And I love Andrew Huberman, but he has misspoken a couple times too, just using the wrong scale when he talked about natural supplementation using long jack or ashwagandha. He used a pico scale versus a nano scale. That's 1,000 times different. So it made
logarithmic
the product
error. That's not good.
it made the product he was endorsing look like it had this massive 400% rise when using normal measurements. I'm sure he misspoke, but it worked in that advantage where in reality, we're talking a tiny, tiny amount in only a certain population that had a certain problem with testosterone. So you got to be careful with this sort of stuff and not just jump in with the emotion. You need to find out. Yes, it is a controlled substance. No, it is not regulated like narcotics, but it is a controlled substance.
Aside from that, like as much as I loathe the shit on Fresh and Fit, remember that whole thing where he's like 50% of women are on OnlyFans. Half the every girl you date, every second one is going to be a hooker. It's like, what the fuck kind of scare tactic shit is that for some poor bastard who doesn't know any better?
Yeah. Is it 50% of them that are Instagram models? Is that what?
No, what was it? 50% gets flown out. That was the one.
Flown out to Dubai to get their black blown out and shit on by me.
Yeah, Walter, our good friend Walter with his quadruple notch count. Of course he did.
Oh yeah, 1,500 notches, the whole thing. I don't know how to articulate it either because the problem is it works so effectively. Like you said, you have a whole episode here on teaching about gold digging wives and why they're gold diggers. And it turns out a lot of the times it's just guys making stupid mistakes. But had you come in here with like, these bitches are trying to take your money, you know, some evil conspiracy thing, we would have probably gotten more viewers because everybody.
The elves are out to get you.
Yes.
The
yes.
elves are women.
That's the
So,
that really is the unfortunate thing in this space is in order to get more views, you have to hook them with the dirt.
Most outrageous shit.
And then and then like you go, hey guys, by the way, now that you're here, we're gonna talk about some common sense. And then they're like, what? We don't want that.
It's true. That's so true, though.
In
You
that
know,
sense,
like-
I am a bigger fan of Rob, where he's like, you know what? I'm just making my content. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch him. Let them burn. Let them find them themselves.
Well,
That's
that's the choice
how
you have to
I
make,
have
right?
been
Ultimately,
doing my
how much
stuff.
do you want
Like I
revenue
do what
versus
I want to
dignity?
do. A lot of my stuff is like stuff I want my kids to see. If that's why I think a lot of other stuff is if I were to die tomorrow, like I want to make sure somebody is around to teach my son good lessons. So there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of video of me talking about stuff. And man, you know, I continue to make videos and my Fitch Pilled series, like those are specific things like, hey, what conversation would I want to have with my 18-year-old son? Right. So he moves forward because something could happen to me. And I want him to be able to go back and watch words from my mouth saying what I believe is the best path forward.
That's sweet.
That's really, really cool. You know, I had something similar happen a few weeks ago where we had a personal friend of the family that's a female that's, you know, in my age range. And she has a grandson that's, you know, being raised by a single mom. And she had asked me, can I share your stuff with him? And so she wanted to get some information to her grandson at 16 years old to try to help him. Yeah. So that's interesting that you do this content and it could be somewhat of something to pass forward of value, especially actionable information.
Well, and that's too, because you guys everybody here has a job. Like YouTube, Bloodsport is not our profession.
I'm mostly retired.
And so then you don't need the money as bad. Like if Myron were to stop yelling at women, his business is over. So he's
Yeah.
kind of in that box now.
Yep.
Same thing with the redhead horse chick, Pearly,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
the guy with the sex doll, whatever. Like all these guys. That's the problem too, is that they can't admit it.
Can't
Like
stop.
Destiny will never admit that it's probably subpar to let your wife get blown out while you're streaming StarCraft. You
That's
probably
part of his
never
brand
will.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's at a cycle where like everybody needs the lie, the big lie, which is entirely what the red pill was meant. The very first red pill post, County Galt, Game is Red Pill, was about looking past these societal lies and getting on your own thing. Oh, look at that. Herbal powers. I like it. And it just seems weird that we've come full circle. We're back to like everybody feeding into a big lie to feel better while guys are struggling. I guess life has a sense of irony, you know?
It really does, man. That's interesting. Well, let's just keep in mind, you know, definitely the core red pillars here know the utility of the red pill. And that's what's really important.
Yeah.
Not
Wow.
really the grift.
A little bit of grift. Just enough grift to pay the bills.
Well, okay. You know,
I don't
Who
need a
wrote that
Bugatti.
post, Ryan?
keep the
This
blow.
merch isn't going to sell itself, guys.
All
Dude,
right.
that's actually some lit merch you got, like the hat alone.
Let's call it a hustle instead of grift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Well, it's
It's not a
valuable,
grift.
right?
Yeah.
I
it's-
still think
it's-
we need the
if you're-
umlaut.
If you're getting value out of it, yeah. Yeah,
Let's
we
go ahead and do the
both
grift
have the Rule
value
Zero merch
exchange.
now.
There's John right there. There's Ryan. Look at that face.
Look at that mustache.
I know it's clean.
can't
I
believe
have
you
I
found
have that T-shirt, Thor, man. That T-shirt's awesome. We're gonna have to try to remember to wear it next week.
How
Yeah.
did
Well, you
get
guys
that
can
photo?
have
That
any
was
of the
me when I was
artwork.
shaving the beard and I did it in
Yeah.
stages. Because every guy has to do that when you cut it in stages. Eventually get to the handlebar, then the Hitler mustache. You don't take a photo of that one though.
Yeah. Here's
You
the
never
cool
want that
one. You
one
could-
floating around.
That's a good handlebar you got right there.
Salvador
Look
story.
at Cappy. I got Cappy good with his hat. So
Yep.
yeah. And Jack, you're in there too. So
It's all right. So we've learned a lot about
Okay.
ways to avoid being gold dug. I don't know if you guys have seen anything else around the Isreal Adesanya story. I don't. He's pretty private, so a lot of people thought he was gay for a while, and then one day he showed up with this blonde chick who was his girlfriend, and then a little while later he showed up with a new chick. So people didn't even know he like broke up. Sean O'Malley, another fighter, 145-pound fighter, did a podcast and he started talking about this, and this is why people started knowing about it. Like he didn't even know that Adesanya had a girlfriend either. Like the dude kept all of his private stuff very quiet and low key. Oh, Jack's gotta go later, Jack. And yeah, so there's a situation here, and she breaks up with her. She thinks that she's entitled to half of his stuff that he made, and I don't know. I think he's not 100% out of the woods because we don't know what the lawyers, we don't know what the judges, we don't know what people are going to think. Like, oh my God, she cooked food for him once or twice during his training camp. Oh, she's totally entitled to that money.
Well, you know what's great on these ones, and I know it's going to be boring and everybody's going to hate this, at least in Canada. That's why I knew about the 97% guy who wasn't even married. Go read the court filings. Most of the time, this stuff is public, and once you see those details, you tend to like it makes sense. You may not like it, but you'll understand how they got to that point, and that's something that the people talking never ever get to. Like,
no, I mean, I
basically
heard
the
you
guy
say,
with
Ryan,
the
but like
girlfriend in
even that
Canada.
case with the guy who was kind of not fully honest with the judge and whatever, I still don't think that's right, because even him lying, because
Oh, I
that
agree,
dude was
but that's the
dude
thing
was
is, like,
paying
it was a
ridiculous
mistake he
amounts of
never had to
money to
make.
take care of her and her children for many years, like giving them gifts. I have a different aspect. Like if somebody's giving you gifts and paying for stuff and putting you in a house and taking care of you, I feel like you owe them.
Of
Oh,
You owe
course.
them for letting
I
you
agree.
live free.
We're talking like ought versus is, though. Like, should it be that way? Absolutely. Is it? No. So just don't tell everybody in your social circle that this is your wife and buy her a ring, and then tell the judge not. That's just. I know.
You think he had
I
an
wish it
unconscionable
wasn't that way, but
contract?
it is.
You think he had an unconscionable contract going?
Yeah, Jesus. Honestly, and that's what I loved. Every time I used to do that for a long time. Everybody would make this horrible court case, bad for men. I'd read the court case, and every single time it was a guy doing something irredeemably stupid and getting his bag hammered for it. Every time. And so, yeah, these laws aren't ideal and they are favored towards women, but it's not like they're insurmountable. Like, we can't beat them. It's the Matrix. It's like, no, most of the time it's you being an idiot. But that's the same thing at work, right?
Just gotta find a way to work
Yeah, should
around the
fire
system.
you because of your
color,
tweets?
color within the
No, but
lines.
they do. So maybe don't tweet about the Jewish question with your fucking corporate account. You know? Or do it's your job. Maybe you're selling the thing. You're gonna be on Daily Wire. Oh no, they won't let you on there with the GQ. Never mind. Sorry, Ben. No offense.
Oh, you're number's one fan. There you go. Or no, that's Walsh. Yeah, but I think the best thing about actionable advice that you can give is being prepared. I mean, listen to some of the things about guys before they enter into marriage-like behaviors. You kind of have to get yourself out of that honeymoon phase and see what you're actually getting into,
Yeah.
because it's a big decision. And apparently, if you're going to engage in marriage-like behaviors, even on the internet and not in a physical reality, then you better really do your homework for quite a while. I mean, you're gonna have to do it much
over
longer.
your pen pal. That'd be a nice start too.
Yeah,
That's just solid advice in general.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Thor says too. A lot of guys, we all know that we're the romantics. We really are. And a lot of us get emotionally just lost in a relationship. We forget what we're doing. We're all Twitter pated and whatever. It's like, if you take a step back and really try to lovingly detach from the relationship and just really keep an eye on what's going on, you'll make better decisions, in the long run. Just a lot of guys just, they start thinking with their heart, right? And, and they start just doing stupid shit. They just stop thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Valerie. I'm actually in my 60s, so thank you.
Yep. Like fine wine.
Yeah, you have to plan it out though.
I made some people mad on Instagram because I follow this like retro rewind, like whatever channel, and somebody posted a picture of Topanga then and now, and they're like, she aged like fine wine, and I wrote, yeah, toilet wine.
Pruno from prison. Yeah.
Oh, they were mad. They were mad. I kicked a hornet's nest.
One thing I want to add too. So I talked to Dr. Robert Glover once, and I was telling him how one thing that I learned after my divorce was that I would never do joint bank accounts again. I was like, I would, if I were to do it over again, it would have separate bank accounts
But
and
you
maybe
never know how
have
much you have.
right, and maybe have like a joint account for bills and stuff like that. But everything else, like she would have her money, I'd have my money. And he goes, you know what? He's like, you got the money thing figured out, so your next relationship you won't have a problem with the money thing. He's like, something else will blindside you that you didn't prepare for. He goes, we all, you usually learn from your past relationships and implement strategies to try to avoid the pain that you felt in the beginning, but there's always something that you can't prepare for. So keep that in mind as well.
You just got to be able to adapt, right?
Yeah. Be better at vetting. Be better at vetting.
That's for sure. And go beyond.
Pay attention to red flags and maintain your frame, maintain your boundaries. That's the biggest one for me. It's like you should know who you are and how you want to live your life, and you should know what you want out of your partner. And if you find somebody who doesn't step in line with those things, you have to be comfortable and okay with letting them go. Because it's holding on to it's only going to hurt you later.
Yeah, I'll give you guys one. So wait till after the honeymoon phase is gone and do this one thing. Determine if your girl is influenceable or is she the influencer. It'll help you if she's the influencer.
Does that mean whoever's got a bigger Twitter account? Or
No. I don't mean online, in real life.
What's her OnlyFans look like?
Yeah.
If she's easily influenced by family and friends, you might want to take a second look.
Actually, Thor, one of your courses, you have a list like that of things to look for in a woman. Because you let me, that was one I think I bought. I think I bought one of your courses, and that was one of the cool things. Yeah, and that was one of the things to look for when vetting women.
It's a big one, though.
Yeah,
that social influence of personal friends can be huge, and I've witnessed
that was a red flag that I did not pay attention to. If I would have paid attention to how my ex and her friends and her family reacted to infidelity by women in their family to their husbands, and paid attention to divorce and how their attitudes were around divorce, I would have vacated a long time ago. If I would just blew it off like, oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. That's just the way California is. But no, it's not the way California is. It's the way that group of people were. They were very comfortable with the women abusing and robbing their men, and I didn't pay attention to it.
Wait, what? Robbing? You mean like in divorce or like
in divorce? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's a lot of times it's a hostage situation. From what I saw, the men weren't getting sex, they weren't happy, but they did all the work, they made all the money, and then their wife bossed them around and told them what they had to buy. You have to take me to this place. You have to take me to this restaurant. I need this dress. I need these bags. I need this vacation at this place. So these guys have to put in all this extra work and do all this extra stuff like some kind of slave, and they're not getting anything out of it other than they can say, "Oh, at least I'm still married."
Yeah, it is a big factor. I witnessed it many years ago in a cul-de-sac where the girls were very influenced, and within 18 months, every couple on that cul-de-sac was divorced.
Oh yeah, what's the law on that one? The biggest indication that a divorce is whether her friends or neighbors are divorced, something like that.
I actually have the Pew statistics on it. It's much worse than you think. Yeah, if you have a close friend that goes through a divorce, the likelihood that you will get a divorce, it's called the divorce contagion. You can look it up on Pew. I won't go into it. It's very, very large, much larger than you would think.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, it's like anytime some girls
how many
has
people
issues,
turned on
everybody's
their
like, "Yeah, you
neighbors
go,
because
girl, you
COVID had
divorced,
some
and you take all of it."
advertisements?
What's that, Ryan?
How many people turned on their neighbors and friends because there was a couple COVID advertisements of some Chinese people passing out in the streets? People are easily influenceable.
Yeah.
That pandemic scared the shit out of me because I'm like, oh, wow. Anne Frank wouldn't stand a chance in 2023.
Yep.
It's an Austrian patron reference that you can do without getting somebody streamed and monetized, Jack. Lesson for you there. Trick is a euphemism.
Too bad he left already. Like,
oh, yeah.
He's never going to get that lesson.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, the whole thing's scary. You're right about the influencing too, though. Like, I think part of it is you kind of have to move away a bit from that older life. Maybe in the military, because we're so nomadic, I got blessed that way, but it's nice now because we get to see our old friends and family from some distance and some perspective. It's like, Jesus, thank God we didn't do that. Thank God we didn't do that. thank God we didn't get knocked up by that. Like those conversations are my best. I love those because it just
That's
reminds
really,
me like
really
the relationship is
good.
good, and I'm glad we're here, right?
Yeah,
guys
that
have
time and
those, or am I the
distance
only
is
one?
really important.
Yeah. And there's nothing better
No,
to a
it-
girl than her friend
it's a
being a piece of shit in her adulthood.
MLD John talks about this a lot of times too. Girls will poison their friends. You know, if you have a girl who's like a good girl, doesn't sleep around a lot, she's true to her boyfriend, and her other friends will feel insecure about that girl. They'll feel insecure because she doesn't have a huge high body count. They'll feel insecure that they don't cheat on her boyfriend or husband also.
Yeah.
You know, and they will pressure her and push her into making bad decisions.
Such a villain.
It's
There's a
the-
term for that we used.
It's
in
crabs
some
in
of
a bucket.
Well, it was
Yes.
damaged women. Damaged women.
It's good.
I guess that's all I
That's a
got
good
on that one. I just enjoy it.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
All
man.
right. Well, and we're I think we're kind of wrapping up here. Yeah, we're almost at 10. You guys want to go around the horn and
Sure.
say what everybody's up to? We should go first, Thor.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, come and join me and Paul. We're going to have the Dragon Ship at 11 today. We're going to continue this conversation with why it's not good to be a nice guy. So come and join us on RP Thor and on Come On Man podcast channel. We'll be splitting the stream and we'll be chopping it up on that panel. Other than that, you can find me at rp.thor on Instagram, Pill Thor on that Twitter thing. And then, of course, you guys, I just posted the Rule Zero merch. If you'd like to check out some of the Rule Zero merch we been putting out there, come and do that. Links in the chat. Thank you, guys, and skull.
Paul.
Man, yeah. Thor already mentioned I'm going to be on the Dragon Ship after this. And then after that, I'm going to be on a podcast called Command Your Confidence. I believe that's what it's called.
Robert.
Anyway, I'll put the link out on social. So, and then Monday, I have Cappy on. We're going to be talking about how Cappy's your daddy now because he's stepping up. He's stepping up because there's a lot of these guys out here that don't have dads. So he's got his dad you never had course. We're going to be talking about that on Monday, which is fun. Cappy's always a good interview. And then, other than that, I have my own Rule Zero merch as well. You can get that all at comeonmanpod.com, everything. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform of choice. And then my Practical Law of Attraction course, I'm giving it away for $100 off for the entire month of May with code MAYMindset. So you can find that at this link as well. So I'll put that in the chat. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.
Ryan.
I'm simple. Book 3 is underway. Join me on the Substack, substack.ryanstone.com. You can watch me writing book 3 live. I put the excerpts out. It's mostly the first draft, so you really get to see how the sausage is made. You're going to see like how that work kind of influences the future work, how it gets culled down, cleaned up as things go on. That'll be good. And then beyond that, just come check me out on YouTube. At this point, I'm just plugging along, keeping things running. And then if you're done with Red Pill and you've understood it, you got your woman, you're having fun, just come with the T-Rex Army. We have like a bunch of us now. There's like Dave and Mish and myself and Marty. And
That sounds cool.
yeah, well, it's good. It's like mostly gaming, just casual stuff. It's where you can shoot the shit with a guy without having to worry about some nonsense culture war stuff like ruining your fun.
Damn.
So that one's always there, and that's just digital, Ryan. That's the streaming one. And you'll always see me post about that stuff on Twitter. So that's it for me.
That sounds really good.
Nice.
I could do that after I finish writing my stupid book.
All right, guys. Super chat here real quick. Hat and Clogs, thank you very much. Yeah, guys, it's Memorial Day is coming up. I have a sale, 25% off of all my Gumroad courses with the code Memorial Day. That's one word, okay? Capital M, capital D, Memorial Day. Follow the links below. You can find that, but it's 25% off everything. So the practical self-defense course, which techniques from that course I used this morning against a homeless guy who was threatening and trying to almost attacking my neighbor. So it works in all practical use. It very much works. So download that, make yourself safer, learn something about violence. All right. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. I hope we learned something. And again, I'm fully in support of people being in long-term relationships. I think men and women, just like Raul says, men and women are better together than apart. The point of this show is not to be like women are evil and we got to stay away from their cooties because they're going to steal from us. Ooh,
So
that's not what this is about.
does that
This is
make us
about-
not red pill?
You need
we're all on
to-
LTRs, right?
You need to pay attention. You need to learn skills that allow you to avoid bad actors. Okay. I guarantee that all these situations where these women took a lot of money from the guys, they missed a lot of marks, a lot of red flags. They made mistakes. Okay. I'm all about full responsibility, taking on full absolute responsibility for everything. Okay. So like my divorce, me losing stuff, well, that's my fault because I failed to keep my frame. I failed to recognize red flags. My fault. I'm not calling the women evil. I'm not calling the system evil. It just is. So you're going to have to navigate it. Hopefully the red pill praxeology, the books that these guys have read, the shows that these guys are all doing can help you. These are tools. Use the tools to live a better life. Find an amazing woman. I have an amazing woman in my life right now. It's pretty great. We've been together over 2 years. She's been living with me for a year. Great. Nothing's a problem. I'm doing good. Everybody on this panel right now is in a committed relationship with somebody. Okay. So we're not anti-women. We're not anti-relationship. We're just trying to help you not be a sad, sexless loser.
These
right?
guys don't have a harem. They're not red pill.
You're not top
Hey,
G.
speak for yourself, son.
You're not in a Romanian prison. You're not a man.
Yep. Hail
Nah,
our
it was a cheap
overdog,
shot,
robot
granted.
dog overloads. They're coming. Robot dogs are coming anyways, guys. So be ready. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, you
and,
savages.
check y'all later.